AITA for having sex with a minor. Hi, Reddit, and this is a very frustrating and unpleasant situation I found myself in recently. So I am an opera singer and a 28 years old woman. Few months ago I worked on a big production in Europe. The production was massive and had over 200 people involved in it, including some actors. One of them was exceptionally handsome, like high fashion kind of handsome, and from day one he never concealed his attraction towards me. Let us call him Marco. We flirted, but I never really thought about hooking up with him as I was consumed with the show, partly because I was doing the main role. After the premiere there was an after party. And of course I got intoxicated, so did he. Then it was 5 a.m. and he was stranded in the town without any means to get home at that time of night. Obviously it was a ruse to get into my bed. And I was tipsy and relaxed, so I played along. I offered him a sofa in my flat. And of course, next thing I know we are messing in my bedroom. In the morning, well, more likely, in the late afternoon, we had the post-sex cuddle. And Marco casually mentions that tomorrow is his birthday. I joke about having given him an early BD present, to which he laughs and says that it was the best present ever. Then I ask how old he is going to get, and then he drops the bomb: he is going to be 18 tomorrow. I panicked and quickly got out of the bed. He did not look 17 at all. I thought he was younger, but I never thought he was 11 years younger than me. I was mad. He looked surprised and said that he is almost a man and that he had many girlfriends, including the 30 years old when he was 16. I screamed that I did not care about his other girlfriends and that I am going to be in big trouble. I did not know the laws of that country, so I had all my life flash before my eyes. I begged him to keep his mouth shut and he swore he would never tell anyone. Of course, when I got to the theater the next day everyone was giving me weird looks. By the end of the day I noticed people laughing at me, and some of my colleagues even asked me really dirty questions. Not only he bragged about having sex with me to his friends, he also gave them all the details, including the amount of body hair, shape of my breasts, and all the things I did to him in bed. I was a wreck. I ran into the cafeteria and was weeping incessantly. Never in my life I felt such shame. Next morning I was called into the theater director's office. He was very disappointed in me and my lifestyle choices. And he also mentioned that as a prima donna, okay, that term, I should have known better and taken better care of my reputation. I thought it was over, but in few hours I received a phone call from Marco's mother. She was screaming at me, and though I speak Italian, I was struggling to understand everything she said. Apparently not only I had sex with a 17 years old, but I also raped him as he was drunk and therefore could not possibly consent to sex with a fat old woman, that I was in his mother's opinion. She screamed some more and promised to get the police involved. I was devastated. In my view, my career was over as well as my reputation. I wished I were dead. His mother also discovered his messages to me and threatened to expose me as a sexual predator, and called me a pedophile. My colleagues stood up for me and promised to testify if need be that Marco has been chasing after me since day one, and that he has made everything he could to stay at my place that fateful night. Just when I thought my life was over, it turned out that Marco's mother tried to blackmail the theater director into firing me or raising her son's salary. The director went furious and threatened her with exposure, so she backed off. All this situation was quite horrible for me, and I am glad I am unscathed by the experience, although there must be a stain on my reputation. But as the time passes by and I recover, I cannot help but wonder, what if I am a predator? What if I scarred that poor boy? What if I raped him as he was clearly drunk and I am a grown-ass woman and whatnot? The very thought of it horrifies me, as I am a rape survivor myself, and I pray I have not hurt this young man. What do you think, guys? I am so confused and genuinely upset. Sorry for the long read. NTA: he intentionally withheld the fact he was underage. Between that and kissing and telling, this guy is shaping up to be a real douche. I am lucky he was not 16, minus the fact that he withheld the fact means absolutely nothing. It did for me. Saved my butt when I met a woman in a bar and found out she was barely 17. I was 24 at the time. Parents got police involved. I was off the hook. Attorneys agreed that I should not have had to ask age given where I was when we met. I did imagine the same argument would work for you, unless he was playing the part of a younger man in the play. Otherwise, how are you to know someone working full-time and carrying on like any other adult was underage? There is a good legal argument it is the bar's duty to make sure it serves clients legally, so it is a reasonable expectation that a client therein will be of legal age and hence older than 18 for sure. Close call. NTA I am working a bit on assumption here, but I am guessing this was in Italy, by the sounds of things. If so, the age of consent there is 14, so he was well past the legal age to engage in sexual activity. That clears you of any worry about him being a minor and causing you legal issues on that front. I am really sorry to hear of your past with rape. As such, I am sure it's a situation which you wouldn't take lightly. By the sounds of the story he was just as willing as you were, so we have two consenting people engaging in legal sexual activity. As for him telling everyone all the details, he's the asshole for betraying your trust. NTA, I had the same thing happen. Girl told me she was 18. Afterwards, she says she is not actually 18, but my birthday's on the 25th. Then she says she is emancipated and married. No idea how much of that is true. Reported her to Tinder and she got banned. Crazy bitches come in all genders. Sorry that happened to you. From day one he never concealed his attraction towards me. Marco has been chasing after me since day one, and that he has made everything he could to stay at my place that fateful night. There was no rape here. An honest mistake that he wanted. Next time ask their age first. Do not let this eat you up. Shit happens and people will forget quickly enough. A lesson for me, definitely. NTA, also you won't get arrested. Age of consent in Italy is at most 16, I believe 14, so you are fine there. The texting is a bit trickier but I still believe everything will be fine. Just take this as a lesson that with a strong career you have a name and reputation you need to protect. I am going to say NTAESH, if you were anywhere other than Vatican City or Turkey, the guy is not considered a minor. The age of consent in European countries is usually 14 or 16. Unless you were in Turkey or Vatican City, you did not commit statutory rape. However, it is up to you to take reasonable steps to check the age of your sexual partner, and you should have taken that step. You had no way of knowing he was over 16, just as you had no way of knowing he was over 18, because you were both drunk. Both of your judgment was impaired, so it is not easy to say that you were taking advantage of his condition. Plus, since he seems to be bragging about it in a pretty shitty way, so he is very likely not scarred by it. He just sounds like an asshole, to be honest. His mother is unreasonable in calling you a pedophile. I think you acted irresponsibly, but I do not think you are an asshole here. NTA, very confusing situation you got there, but I would not worry about traumatizing him. As you said, he bragged to his friends and colleagues als he was chasing after you the entire time, so no, you can have a clear conscience. This sounds like a sucky situation, and he is definitely being an immature asshole by retaliating against you with all the rumors and family blackmail, especially if he comes from a culture where he is perfectly past the age of consent and not scared by any of it. It sounds like you hurt his pride by rebuffing him, so he decided to hurt you with this thing that obviously frightens you, and made fun from it. I hope that when he is older he looks back at this with some amount of shame. On a side note, there is a plot almost exactly like this in the movie Trainwreck. It is funny, although you might find it a little bit close to home. Nah, in my opinion, would it have been better for you to make sure he is 18 before screwing him? Yes. Would it have been better for him to inform you that he is not 18 yet before the act? Also yes. However, since you were probably in a country with an age of consent of 16 or less years, it is perfectly legal for you to have sex with a 17-year-old. Also, due to the circumstances of both parties being intoxicated, I do not think this was intentional on your side, so cannot exactly call it a dick move. NTA, you had a strong response to a strong emotional stimuli. The thought that your career would be over when you learned Marco was under 18. Your intense reaction probably really confused him, and was maybe a contributing factor to him being a dick later, telling everyone all kinds of things. That is harassment. Frankly, you are not responsible for his bad behavior. Sorry things went all terrible for you. Do not fret over this young man. I think he was more hurt by your strong negative reaction than by anything else. He responded by being unkind, so there is nothing left for you to do but move on. Forgive him and yourself. This can go a lot of ways. Firstly, you said you knew he was younger. How old did you think he might be? And it is important that you be honest with yourself about that question. Secondly, how drunk was he and how drunk were you? The more sober of the two usually has an obligation to not let things go too far unless plans are made ahead of time, so to speak. Thirdly, what country did this happen in? Have you brushed up on the country's laws regarding age of consent? In many European countries, 17 is considered adulthood. You obviously did not take advantage of him as he had been knocking at your door from the start, but the way he disregarded your wish for privacy, not to mention concealing his age until after the fact, shows that he was not a man in terms of maturity. This is something that you undoubtedly noticed during the time you spent together beforehand, and at some point you made the decision to have sex with him anyways. Are you a child predator? No, not unless you deep down knew he might be a minor, at worst. This was you enjoying the affection, attention, and company of what you thought to be a younger man. Selfish, probably a little, but I guarantee you have not scared his psyche. Just, maybe, ask for ID in the future. NTA, I can understand why you would fear that somehow you are the bad guy in this, but I do not believe you are. He indeed should have told you how old he was and you should have asked, but drinking impairs one's mind, so I will pass on that. As far as rape goes, that is a two-way street. If he could not consent because he was drunk, well, how could you? An intoxicated woman consent? See where I am going with this? You both wanted to do it, so you did it. He was just a kid about it. Maybe one day a young girl will do to him what he did to you, then he will experience fear. Or maybe he is into the crap, I don't know or care. You were a mountain to be conquered by the seemingly self-proclaimed sex god Marco, and he had to let everyone know of his success. Douche move, but to be expected from a young man. Do not be so hard on yourself. Yes, you are the asshole. If it was a guy and his defense was, but I did not know when she really wanted it, do you think that would pass? Get in the habit of asking someone how old he is if he looks much younger. I am going with yeah for quality's sake. Were the genders reversed, you would surely be screwed. I do not think you intended to do anything wrong. It was an honest mistake, and while he sounds like a douche, the fault is still on you. Please subscribe.